Got the pen and the paper in your hand. Got the story going, but you wanted to expand. We'll help you on your journey, let us lend you a hand. Join the show. So let's write the book TV show. Grab your pen and paper and we're gonna let it flow. Talking about write the book TV. Join the show.
Welcome to another segment of Write the Book TV. I'm your host, Kimberly LeBou. Today we have an exciting show for you. We are joined today by the authors of the book, The Black Father Perspective. They're coming here to share with you about this amazing book that they wrote a little while ago, but information is still so relevant, and we just finally got an opportunity to bring them to the table and have a conversation today. So welcome to Write the Book TV, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yes, I think you all the first guys to be on the show. So our viewing audience will probably be like happy to see some males show up on the show.
Yeah, about that, right?
Yes, and see, I didn't bring you just one; I put your whole tape before. Right?
I said that's called saving the best for last.
Saving the it's not last. But this is a conversation that I've been wanting to have since we wrote this, right? Mm-hmm. The Black Father Perspective is a vision that I had a couple of years ago, where I wanted to bring a group of men together to share their perspective about being Black fathers in America. In anthology projects, I was working with a lot of women. Women easily share their stories and jump on projects like this, but I felt like we were missing the male perspective. Mm-hmm. And so I reached out, and you all said yes. Some of you are part of volume 1. There's another volume 2. Some of you are part of that. So I just thank you all for showing up and being here today. Yeah. And this is not all of the authors, but just a small segment of you all. And so I just thank you for being here. And so we're just going to jump right in, have a conversation, talk about your book, things you wrote in the chapter, and then we'll move into a portion where I ask you things about being a Black father in America specifically. And so I'm going to start with you, Carlos.
Yeah, all right. I'm ready. I'm up first.
You're up first. Carlos is a higher education professional, born and raised in Baltimore City, alumni of Baltimore City College, has a BA in sociology from Walden University, and an MS in higher education. And you wrote the chapter, Heir to the Throne, the rightful place of fatherhood. That's such a powerful title. And so I just want you to share a little bit about what you wrote about in the Black Father Perspective.
Yeah, so for me, it was a little bit of a storyline, right? Mm-hmm. I started with discussing my relationship with my dad, which was good. It had its ups and downs, but he was still a good dad to me. And he laid out, like, as I observed him over time, growing up, there were things that he said and things that he did that kind of made me realize, like, all right, that's the kind of father I want to be, right? So then, you fast forward, it's 2009, boom, I'm a dad now. And now, at this point, I'm remembering these things that my dad did, or that he said, things he didn't do, things he didn't say. That's right. And on top of that, I have a little girl. Yeah. Right? So, and then for me, it's a matter of like switching, like, okay, so all right, she's a girl. So there are different aspects to that. Girl, exactly right. There's different aspects to that. So that for me, it was, and then at the end, I related it to Lion King. Right.
Yes, I remember
because
that.
you had like Mufasa to Simba, and then after that you got Simba to Kiara, and I felt like that was just the perfect analogy, right? Like my dad is like Mufasa, voice not as deep, but but he was like Mufasa, and then the relationship. I watch a lot of cartoons because I got a little girl just watch cartoons. So the cartoon version of Lion King, where it's Simba and his little girl Kiara. It was just very symbolic to me. So that was the story arc.
Yeah, I remember you writing about that. I thought that was really good. Yeah. So that's awesome. And so Wayne.
Yes.
Wayne, founder of Next Level Training and Wellness, certified professional trainer, athletic performance trainer, all the health stuff going on. Also born and raised in Baltimore. a former firefighter, paramedic with Baltimore City Fire Department. And so we all kinds of goodness in the house. And so your chapter was the continuous process of becoming a father.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about what you wrote about.
So, I mean, I really talked about the genesis of how my mother and father got together and created me and my sister.
You really talking like you're a prophet?
In the book.
Maybe not those details, but you know, who they were as kids also shaped who I am today. And so my mother and father were never married, but there's things that I learned from my dad. My dad was, I would say, he was a great father, even though we didn't have him in the home. He was a great father. He was a very stubborn man. And then when I looked at how his father was, like, you know, as I became a father, it gave me a greater understanding of who he was as a man. And for me, I have two daughters by two different women, one by a previous relationship and my ex-wife. And so in the book, I talked about, you know, even though it's the end of one relationship, it's the beginning of a new one. And so just because the relationship stops, those same issues are going to come up throughout life. And so I wanted to not only evolve as a father, but I also want to evolve as a man, and learning how to agree to disagree, right? Some of those things that used to trigger me in a relationship, right? If this person she never changes, how do I respond differently? And so that was one of the major keys in the book, is like, I didn't want to, as being a father, in the presence of my daughter, I didn't want to be somebody that reacted. I wanted to be somebody that responded. So that's one of the major, that was one of the major key for me, and that's what I talked about in the book most.
Awesome.
Wow.
And so 2 girl dads.
Yeah.
And then we have Nathaniel.
That's me.
Musician, athletic coach, and mentor, BA in biblical and theological studies, right? You did finish that, right?
I did.
Yes.
Thank you.
Remember seeing cap and gown? I was like, yes.
You just talked about that too. It hurt.
And you have how many children?
4.
4.
Yes.
And a mix of boy and girl. So you
I have
4
3.
girls, right?
One girl and 3 boys.
Okay. And let's see, your chapter was the missing blueprints.
Yes.
And so tell us what you wrote about in the Black Father perspective.
In a nutshell, the blueprint is literally something in a diagram or something in place that was supposed to look like, or it's supposed to look like when it's completed. And as we were talking outside, sometimes we watch what our fathers did based on the character of their grandfather, what their father done. And what I want to do in this book is give another depiction of parenting, not through necessarily what my father's eyes were, but how to parent in this generation. Some of the things that my father and my grandfather did, you are not allowed to do in this generation. Whether it was a quick blow to the throat, whether it's something, I mean, there was all sorts of discipline that would be considered as militant. But I had to learn through a few different challenges that sometimes the discipline of spankings or throwing against the wall, that wasn't necessary. I'm sorry, that's just...
And we'll talk about some of that too.
Oh, no. We had to repent.
I knew it that.
It's weird on TV. But I had to learn a different style of parenting where just where things were deemed as discipline, a bit more physical. It was just more of conversation. Let's choose a better option, a better discussion of what you're doing. And sometimes it was effective, and sometimes I had to be a real father and a real dad, and just to share that I wasn't happy with that decision. So now let's have a deeper discussion than just verbal. So I'm saying what I'm saying without saying it.
Right.
So, but no, the missing blueprint is literally wanting to create a conversation where I wanted to do something, create change, something different that my dad, that I was doing different than my dad and my grandfather was doing. So that was just that.
So Jonathan Rudd, Senior.
Senior.
Up first.
Good one.
Former pastor, was married for 43 years until your wife passed away. Had 2 sons from that marriage. You now have 8 grandchildren and been blessed to find love of your life again with your current wife. So what a blessing that is. And so your chapter was titled, When All You Have to Offer is Love. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I didn't put it in the book, in there, but my dad was the type of guy that he had this saying, you know, and whenever he couldn't figure something out, he'd always say, "There's always one more way," you know, and he would always try to find out one more way to get things done. When I got married, I became unemployed, you know, and I had this one here. My oldest son, he was on the way, had no job. Loved my son, loved my wife. Had to find a way to provide, you know. And you know, when people tell me that, you know, they can't find work, I'm like, because there's always more way to find work. And I did whatever I had to do, because all I had was love. I didn't have a job. So I put that, you know, I put that into play. I said, if I got to work, and I worked some horrible jobs. I worked in you know, like in DC, they burn their trash. Okay, but you know that thing gets burnt up. Some metals don't burn.
Yeah.
So I worked at a place where they take all the ashes that, you know, and they dump it in one place, recycle plant, and they recycle all the metal. Yeah. I had to dig to that stuff to get the metal out of that.
Wow.
All the metals that wouldn't go through the grinder, like a pair of pliers, the grinder couldn't grind it up. So I had to pull that stuff out. You know, so I'm digging through all this stuff, you know, this garbage, you know, trying to, you know, to come to my the conveyor belt. Digging through it, sorting through it, you know. When it was cold, it was a good thing because it was hot. But I beat to that, you know, but I got so dirty doing that when I come home in wintertime now, my wife would not let me in the house. That phone call me around her newborn baby.
Oh, wow.
She said she made me change clothes right outside the house. I took my about cold and I changed right there into my best clothes. But anyway, the point of the story is, when people say, you know, I can't provide, or I don't have what it takes, you know, to be a dad, you know, the black father has been given that stigma of making babies, but not being there for the babies. You know what I mean? And so I had to prove that this ain't me.
Yeah.
I made this baby, I'm take care of the baby, no matter what it takes. All I got is love. So I'm gonna take that love and I'm gonna do it legally. What I gotta do. Legally, I got in there. I didn't say something else, you know, but legally what I had to do to provide for my family. Because all I had was love. That's the premise of the story.
Awesome. Wow. That's good.
I thought something cost.
Realize right now you had it good. And then we have Jonathan Brett II. No comments. At the table too.
Can I get in this one?
No, you cannot. So you worked for 25 years at the National Cancer Institute and are looking forward to early retirement to pursue full-time ministry and traveling the world, spreading the gospel with your wife. You are a proud father of 3 girl, boys, both.
2 boys, 1 girl.
Okay. And so your chapter was titled "Life Keeps Lifing." Man, that's so true.
Yes.
So what was the chapter? I know what it means for me. What did the chapter mean?
Well, the chapter meant to me, there were a lot of things that I learned from my father. Sorry. And some things you learn from what they tell you, but also from what they do or don't do. Right? And so in my story, I was talking about how, you know, like first I started off like explaining how I'm going to write about like how I'm gonna get this conversation. And I reached out to my father to ask the conversation, but then how to do this. He says, tell the story of you, my father, tell the story of his kids or whatever. Yeah. So that's what I did. So in my story, I'm basically telling how I become a father and how I had to learn how to adjust to things like of having a child.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, people think it's, oh, you have a child and you whatever, but it's actually, like, when you have plans, like, when I went at the job that I'm currently at, I wasn't there full time. I was only there for like a summer stays because I was in college. So I was only there for like 3 months, and I'm supposed to go leave that job and go back to school full time. But when I had a child, so things changed.
Yeah.
Now I got to actually keep this job and actually raise this child. You know?
Yeah.
And so, and things can happen in life, like, and then 9/11 happens, and then more changes happen,
Yeah.
And as I said in the story, my heart was with people who lost someone, but I'll be honest, I thought about them, and my prayers was thinking for them, but also my prayers thinking about, like, my own kids. Like, where are my kids at? I'm like, where are my daughter this time?
Mm-hmm.
I want to get back to my daughter, Then, till 2 years later, I had my son. Life always making adjustments. So there are times where I wish I could just quit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you can't.
Yeah.
You got to keep pushing forward. You got to keep pushing forward. You got to make the adjustments. So that's what I get the title from, about keep pushing forward, because no matter what you do, there are lives in the balance. Your children, your family, their children down the road. You got to think about all of that, and how to be present in what's going on, despite what the world is saying against Black fathers. There's a lot of that negative conversations about that, and I didn't want to be that, because I had an example of my own father. Even though he tried to say that it was so good that he was fired. But we're going to that bus. I'm sorry, though. I'm sorry. We can talk about this, but because I don't really think that I was throwing under the bus. I was expressing some things that even though my father taught me a lot of things, like I said, he, being a PK kid, also, you get the sermon at church, and you get the sermon at home. So my brother would number his lectures, and that lecture number 400 or whatever. It's always a lecture. So I know that I might get in trouble. All right, so I'm gonna talk to you. I said, okay, whatever. What do I do now, Dad? Yeah, what do I do now? All right. And so, but there were things that you learned that you didn't realize you were doing. That, in other words, even my own kids, I noticed that there are things that my kids are doing now that they're 23 and 21 and 20. They're doing things that they've seen me do that I didn't teach them. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't tell you to do this, but they watch me do these things. It's like, we got to break that, Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, you keep pushing forward. I was married before, it didn't work out. I tried to model my marriage after my father.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, but it's life.
Keep life. Yeah. And so, Carlos.
Yes.
In your chapter, you talked about growing up in a 2-parent household.
Yeah.
Was it important for you to model that in your own children's lives as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I felt like as I was growing up with both my parents present, it felt almost like a privilege, because all my other friends had, they grandmother, aunt, dad, no mom, no dad. There was probably a lot more of mom and dad than anyone else. And for me, growing up with both my parents in the house, I was in several ways, I was always reminded of how lucky I was. Right now, as I became a husband and father, it's not so much about me being lucky, but how beneficial that will be to my daughter.
Right.
Because I remember how beneficial it was for me, And now, look, like I said, I got friends who grew up in different single parent homes and grandmothers, aunts, whatever the case. And people still can come out of that and become decent people, decent human, decent parents, decent fathers. But it was something about that for me. It was like I had to model that same thing.
Yeah.
So it was important.
That's good. And so, do you think, talking about your parents and their parenting style of you, did that translate over to how you parented your own?
Nah, not at all. No. I mean, all right. So look, there are things that I definitely adopted. Right? Like, my dad at the table. I'm here, he's there, and then there's, for hours, right? Just being lectured to, given lessons, talk, whatever it may be. Now,
400, 4,000.
but so now that I took because the as much as I hated those conversations as a child, I have such an appreciation for them as a man, as a father, as an adult, and I do that same thing with my daughter, and I see where she has it. We just had a situation not too long ago where she was feeling down about something, and then we sat and we just had a good chat about it, and then I just went about my business. Yeah. And then, like, an hour or two later, she just came out of nowhere, kissed me on my cheek and said, "Thanks for the talk earlier." Oh. And I was like, "Hey."
Like, you're not going to do this to me.
So that's something that I definitely had to adopt in that sense, but it's like you said earlier, where we parent different. It's a different generation. Yeah. These kids are different. They have different struggles. There's different everything, right? You got to parent differently. Yes. So there were things that my parents did that I cannot do. I just can't.
Yeah. True. Yeah. But you talked about in the book about chess.
Oh yeah,
that being something between you and your father all the way up till age 18.
Yeah.
The game of chess. And so, is there something that you and your daughter now have that's the thing?
Yeah.
For you all?
That's our movies.
Oh, movies. Okay.
Yeah. She definitely prefers to go to the movie with me as opposed to my wife.
Oh, really?
Because my wife goes to sleep.
Yes. Continue, boss.
Right there, stand it up.
On my list.
So movies is our thing. That's probably the biggest thing. Like I've been trying to get into the chess thing, but it's not fast enough. It's not fast.
I was never chess. No. And so you wrote, whatever you do, you said your dad told you this, whatever you do it 110%.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're the boss or the janitor, you be the best at it and always give your best effort. Yeah. So what are some important lessons that you passed on to your children and you hope they take into adulthood?
One of those is that one right there.
Oh, okay.
That's when I tell Lyric all the time, just no one can tell you about your effort, right? Even like if it's school, you might get a D, but did you give it A+ effort?
Yeah.
Because you can be satisfied, like, I gave it my best. This is what I earned, and I gave it my best.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if you gave it D effort and got a D, then at that point,
conversation.
So that lesson right there is another one. It's a big one. But also, again, we're talking about parenting today in 2023, right? And there's so many different social constructs that shape our kids, especially in ways, maybe sometimes in ways we don't necessarily want, right? But you got to teach them how to navigate through that kind of stuff. And what one of the things that I really try to instill in her is that you are your own person. Yeah. And despite what everyone else is doing, don't feel pressured into being what everyone else is doing.
Yeah. So important. It is. So important. And so you ended your chapter by saying, "My hope is that she loves the father that I have become as much as I love being her father." And I thought that was such a beautiful sentiment. Mr. Nathaniel.
Yes, ma'am.
You talked about the blueprint and certain patterns that happened, when you were being parented. And so how do you think those patterns impacted your life in marriage and parenting and you just being a man?
That's Carlos said. Some of the things, eating like fish, the things that my dad did well, I kept. One of the greatest examples my dad did, even though I didn't understand it then, I understand it wholeheartedly now, was having that foundation of God in life. Of course, we're from Faith Tabernacle, one of the greatest churches that we ever come out of. He made sure, without a shadow of doubt, we was in church Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday,
and 3 times on Sunday.
All day long. Missionary service, I mean, we was in church and playing the Bible, the choir rehearsal. And we was in church. And as a musician, one thing that if I tell people, if they're ever with the modern day Baltimore Joe Jackson, that's my dad he played guitar, and where he was a minimal guitar player. He made sure that we perfected our gift. They pretty much see me when I was a baby. He seen me coming out of the womb 7, 8 years old, so playing behind the big church. But my dad, I seen him prouder when I'm in ministry doing drums. But I'm learning now that the things that he did well, I kept. The things he didn't do well, I tried to manage a little differently. My dad was a smoking gun. He was a quick wit. And one thing he will not do is compromise his manner. And he's loving. He'll walk you to the corner. He'll talk to you. He'll give you a shirt off his back. But when that early man that just gets the best of him, you would wish you never met him. and I can say that my dad, it's been calculated stories of my dad, just somebody sent him in the wrong direction, and it wasn't a good look on the other side of the party. And I have that same temperament. However, I had to learn after 24 hours booking that necessarily that's the best example of following my dad's lead. Sometimes you gotta pull back and say, you know what? Yeah, right. Let me go take a walk and air out get myself together. So on term, I started putting together the last season. I had to go declutter. And when I need to go declutter, it's when chaos, especially last year or 2 of my life, I had to go away. Not only in the physical sense, but in the mindset. I had to, between workplace, between home place, between ministry, between just dealing with yourself, you have to go somewhere and just declutter. And just leave all that foolishness that you were dealing with. Leave it alone. It's still going to be there. And I think a lot of times we bring not only work and ministry stuff home, but you bring home to your work and ministry place. And there's no delineation between what's the most important thing and what's the thing that you need to hold off and maybe manage a little bit different another way. But I'm learning now. I just, last December, I celebrated 30 years at my job. And somebody said, well, why would you do that? Because it was something I got used to good at. And it challenged me. And then the work ethic. I wanted to instill that work ethic in my kids as well. And I have 2 of my kids working. And they're doing some great things. And my 16-year-old wanted to work. He wants to work soon. So I said, once you start working, you're going to be working for the rest of your life. Let's get ready for it.
Thank you so much to our viewing audience for joining us for another segment of Write the Book TV. If you're someone who's thinking about writing a book, or you know someone else who should write a book, tell them to head on over to www.writethebooktv.com and join us over there. We hope you'll join us right back here again next week. Thank you for joining us.
Grab your pen and paper.